I work for Mr. E.H. Harriman of the Union Pacific Railroad, and he entrusted me to start this episode.
Woodstock, is that you? I think that's what his name is.
Woodcock.
Oh, Woodcock. Even better.
I know that because that's my Letterboxd review, is that I want people to call me Woodcock now, because I think it's hilarious.
You see, if that film was made now, it would be full of Marvel quips about that name. But it was the 60s, so...
Better times. Well, actually, I don't want to say that. Don't quote me on that. Don't hold me to that either.
Better in one singular way that is related to this movie.
Yes.
Yes. Podcast. This is David, and I just realized that I am wearing the Sandlot shirt for like the 20th time on this podcast. But anyways, joined as always by Brandon, the co-host.
Thank you. And I'm wearing I think a different shirt this time.
Yes.
That Sandlot shirt is a classic.
Yeah, I was going to say for once, but you always wear different things. I'm the one that has like the one shirt, but it is a classic, so I have to keep wearing it, even though no one can literally see it.
What have you watched in this past week?
For the audience, it's been a while since we recorded, so I've actually seen quite a bit of stuff, but I'm not going to say it all because it's too much. But I saw 2 movies in the theaters, and one of them was a film that I was thinking might make it somewhere close to the top 10, if not the top 10 itself. And I'm sad to report that it fell very short. It was a thriller called Relay. The first half was solid, but then there's this twist that comes at the end that halfway through the film you're like, I think I know what the twist is, and yeah, it's very obvious. It was just very blah. It was fine. It was like filler thriller, I guess.
Filler Thriller is a great band name, by the way.
Right? That should be your band name if you ever make a band or something.
That's true.
Filler Thriller. I feel like that's a good name for a company too.
Streaming service. Take notes, everybody.
But then I also saw Ethan Coen. I saw his new movie that he directed, that he wrote with his wife. Now, I saw the movie that they released last year, and I didn't like it. It was called, I don't even remember what it was called, but this year's film that they released is called Honey Don't, and I liked it even less.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was really bad. As in, watching it, none of the comedy hit. And then, halfway through the film, or 2/3 of the way through the film, the movie kind of drops the whole plot that has been going on and pivots to an entirely new plot. It's so confusing. It just doesn't make any sense as a film. So I'm sad to report that, yeah, that's 2 in a row that are a no-go for me with Ethan Coen.
I assume you saw the article in the trades, I think it was Variety, that said the summer box office this year was a catastrophic failure.
I mean, it wasn't that bad compared to last year.
That's true.
Which both years were a step down from the year 2023. But
well, 2023 is Barbenheimer. That's kind of unprecedented.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I feel like the rest of the year is going to be stronger anyways, because you have, I think, 3 movies at least that are going to do great. You have Zootopia, you have Wicked, and then you have Avatar. So I think we're going to have a great
I did not realize the other Zootopia is coming out this year.
I also forgot that the other Avatar is coming out this year until recently. So yeah, that's 2 that I almost forgot.
That was the third one you said. I forgot about that too. That didn't even register in my head when you said it.
You're just so used to those movies never coming out that you're oh yeah, he didn't even say anything for that third one, huh?
It's just always talked about. It's just the blue people. I don't know. Whatever.
And now there's red people. Just like Avatar, there's fire people now.
Oh.
It's literally Avatar The Last Airbender.
What?
They're fire Na'vi now.
I'm scared for the race relations between these.
And they're seemingly quote unquote evil.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we'll see. But it should make a lot of money.
It probably, yeah.
But with that, did you see or listen, or what did you listen to that was new? Because I know you did for sure.
I got a possible album of the year contender, Dark by Eden. He's an artist that I like. I don't know if I've mentioned him before, but it was pretty good. I don't know. He's not an album artist. I feel like he's more of a singles and an EP artist, but it was still enjoyable. Unfortunately, all of the singles that were released before the album came out were my favorite songs on the album. So it wasn't like, I mean, it's still good. It just wasn't like the experience that I was hoping for.
But shows that maybe like he should stick to singles and EPs, maybe.
I don't know. I feel like maybe don't release so many singles from the album is the lesson, because I think there were like 5 or 6,
okay.
which, you know, that's a lot for a 12 or 13 song album. I don't remember what it was, but
that's half the album.
Yeah, right. And then the other album I listened to was Garden State by Jeremy Zucker, who's another one of my favorite artists. They actually collaborated on a song, Jeremy Zucker and Eden, back in 2018, which was huge. Well, huge to me. The song itself wasn't that huge, but it was like a big moment for me personally. Anyway, this new album was unfortunately not it. I don't really care about guitar music that much. I don't know. He's got such a nice voice, and he used to produce a lot more, and that's kind of what I feel like I'm missing on this one. So I don't know. There were still a few good songs on it, and it had a good concept, but
does it feel underproduced pretty much?
I think so, but not like for him specifically. I think that's more of a trend of where music is going at this point.
Right.
Everybody kind of saw the early 2020s, and we kind of got some of the more like big club songs, and then everybody was like, what if we all just collectively get sad and Christian? And that's kind of where we've gone now.
I can see that.
So,
do you think it's also like the swing back from like the 2010s and the over the top, pop and that kind of stuff?
Probably, yeah. So I think it'll come back. I also am hypothesizing. I feel like there's a middle decade slump, and I think we're kind of in that right now. I remember the 2010s having one. I remember looking back at the 2000s and thinking, like, from 2004 to 2006, there were not a ton of big hits that like had a life outside of those times. So we're kind of in a slump right now, at least for popular music.
That's interesting, because I would say the same thing for movies, which, I mean, I might go back on that because the festival season has just started. So we could see a lot of movies coming out the next couple of months. But at least so far this year has been kind of not subpar, but it's just been kind of meh. Like, there are good movies, like movies that you're watching, like, oh, that's good, but nothing grabs you, nothing really like gets you, I remember even with something like Sorry Baby, which I mentioned a couple episodes ago, that was good, but I like barely remember that movie now, like it just doesn't catch you fully, even if though it's a good movie. So it's like we're still waiting for that, I feel like, both of us, in movies and music.
Definitely, yeah. There's a chance that an album coming out very soon, like tonight, could do it. It's S.G. Lewis's, friend of the show, S.G. Lewis. His new album is coming out, so I'm excited for that.
I was literally going to ask you about that because I saw the announcement. Spotify sent me an update saying, hey, S.G. Lewis is releasing a new album soon. And I was going to listen to it when it comes out, which is today, right? Or is it tomorrow?
Tonight. I mean, technically it's today, but it'll be 9 p.m. for you and 11 for me.
So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's good. The singles have been promising. But then my New Music Friday song of the week, I'm going with a little bit of a deeper cut this time. It is Hot Boys Make Hot Music by Sam X Emma. They're both British. It's just two people. And they made a really good like dance pop song that is a lot of fun, and it's under the radar. So if they blow up in like 3 years, just remember this moment, because I feel like they definitely have the potential to. They're very talented. So big fan of that.
We got to get them on the pod to do an interview or something.
We do. Yes.
We can be the first people to have discovered them, or like to have been fans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what I got for this week. Does that mean we get into our album?
I think that means that we get into it. So tell me about Whitney and Forever Turned Around.
This album is called, just like you said, Forever Turned Around. And it's by Whitney. Now, you may ask, where is Whitney from? Only the greatest city in the world, Chicago, Illinois. They formed in 2015. The former guitarist and drummer of Smith Westerns, which is a different indie band from Chicago. Mm-hmm. It's Julian Ehrlich and Max Kakacek. I don't know if that's how you say it. My apologies. That's how I would say it because it's a Polish last name, but who knows? Those are the two guys that make up the official duo of Whitney. They're also touring members, and one of them also wrote a song on here who I believe was also in that previous band, and they just kind of like have a whole group of people that they work with all the time.
Which would make sense.
So this album was released August 30th, 2019 by Secretly Canadian. And this day, August 30th, 2019, then Mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, said, "This is Whitney Day." She declared it as a holiday. So,
Wow.
big fan of that. I actually lived in Chicago at this point. I don't really remember this happening, but I was also like moving in because I was about to start my first semester of college. So,
That's kind of crazy that that happened.
yeah, they're beloved in Chicago, and for good reason, I think. I mean, we'll find out what you think shortly. It was preceded by 3 singles: Giving Up in June of 2019, Valley's My Love in July, and Used to Be Lonely in August. All songs on this album were written by Julian Ehrlich and Max Kakacek, except for one, which has an extra writer, which I will mention when we get there. And all songs are produced by Brad Cook, Jonathan Rado, or Rado, I don't know how to say it, R-A-D-O, and the band Whitney. Now, I got a few extra little credits for you here. The bass is by Brad Cook. The cello is by Leah Cole. Horns and keyboards by Will Miller. Organ by Jonathan Rado. Percussion by Josiah Marshall. Piano by Malcolm Brown and Jonathan Rado. Viola by Whitney Johnson. No relation to the band Whitney, as far as I can tell. And the violin is by Macy Stewart, who was a writer on Control by SZA.
Oh, that's really cool.
So kind of an interesting connection there that I didn't even know about.
I also wanted to say a lot of interesting instruments that you don't typically like hear in pop or indie pop.
Very true. And then this album was engineered by Jacob Portrait, Nate Noceda, Tristan Rodman, Tucker Martine, Zach Hansen, and Ziad Asrar. I don't know if I made a mistake on any of those names. My apologies. And it was mixed by Tucker Martine and mastered by Joe Laporta. I got one quick question before we get into this and before I tell you what your favorite song is going to be. This question is, what is the genre of this, and do you think it's country?
I mean, I feel like you can definitely get some country vibes from it. I wouldn't say it's country. I would just call it indie pop, I guess. Something like that. That's what I would say. I feel like you can definitely see elements of different genres in there, but that's what I would categorize it as. Then again, I'm the guy that knows nothing about music, so who knows?
Well, nobody can really decide what this genre is. A lot of people call them a country band or an alt country band. A lot of people call them an indie band or an indie folk band. There's elements of soul in here as well.
Right.
I think my proposition is we create a new genre called indie country, because this is indie music, but there's that element of like kind of traditional folk and country songwriting
Right.
that's present throughout it. So that's my take on it. But we're doing a Western. We got to do a country album. And I thought we shouldn't do a full-on country album because a lot of people hate country. A lot of people aren't ready for that. That's not me, by the way. I do like country music, not all the time, but sometimes.
Got to mix it up a little.
Right. We should do something that kind of fits into that country label, but not entirely. So I wanted to do something that I thought was really interesting and kind of different while still feeling very classic and like tied to the material.
And I will say that correlates to the film, considering that that's kind of a typical Western too.
That's true.
So there we go.
And now I think your favorite on here will be Giving Up.
We'll see.
And let's get into it right away. Track number 1, Giving Up. This was the lead single of the album. I think this song is quite simple, but it is very effective. I think the chorus on the song is great, and the horn bridge is really fun and kind of a cool way to welcome us into, we get horns. That's not a typical country thing. It's more typical of indie folk, which would kind of steer you in that direction for genre-wise. This is what country in a city is supposed to sound like. I rated this song a 4. What did you think?
So first of all, going into this song, I can totally see why you chose this album, because I feel like it does work very well.
Nice.
In terms of the vibes, it just works. And in some ways with the themes, because this song is literally called Give Up.
Well, giving up, but yeah.
Yeah, giving up, exactly. I thought it was a really good solid to the start. In some ways, like a very simple, straightforward song. It just introduces what it is without any like beating around the bush. It's just like, this is our sound, kind of. This is our vibe. I was expecting it to catch me a little bit more, and it didn't fully grab me as much as I might have thought, which maybe is because I just haven't listened to that much like country or indie country. This was a 3.5, so still a great start.
This was not your favorite, I assume?
So, okay, that's a little bit different. It's a little bit difficult for me to say which one is my favorite, because let me just preface this by saying that the Kesha Effect was particularly strong in this album for me.
I figured it would be.
So I actually had such a difficult time coming up with a favorite song. Honestly, like this, along with another like 5 songs, could be my favorite song from this album. And I think everyone will see why as we see the scores for my songs. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Do you want me to explain why I chose this song as your favorite?
Yes.
Because it's the first one, and I thought that you wouldn't be able to tell a lot of them apart.
Honestly, that's a good reason for saying that this is my best song. So, you know what? Fuck it. This is my favorite song.
Nice. Do you have a least favorite song?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I do.
That'll probably be my favorite.
Weirdly enough, I think that there's a high probability of that, considering a certain instrument that's used in that song. So we'll see.
Ooh.
We'll see when we get there.
Now I'm thinking. Okay. Well.
I won't tell you what it is.
Okay.
Not yet. Not yet.
Track number 2 is Used to Be Lonely. This was the 3rd single off the album. I said, what a nice little song. I think that in this song, they capture a nice blend of country, folk, indie, and soul, which, I think that's kind of how the whole album is. But
yeah,
this song in particular made me think of the blend of the genres together. And then I said that I think this is a nice love song from Butch to Sundance.
I can see that.
I don't know. This just fit the movie for me. And this one is a 3.5. I think it's a slight step down from the previous song, but it's still really good. Mm-hmm. It's very, I think this album is super consistent.
I will say, I did write that in a note already in just the second song. I do wish that this song was a little bit more distinct from the first song. That being said, I think it's still very fun. And it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the song is talking about how, I used to be so lonely, so sad, all that kind of stuff. But then the song is so like happy almost, which I thought was fun. Like it has a more upbeat vibe.
It's cute.
Yeah, it's cute. It's like, I'm not like that anymore because I found you, Sundance. So yeah, this is a 3.5 for me too. I still think that it's very fun. I still like it.
Track number 3 is Before I Know It. This one is the one that is written by Julian Ehrlich, Max Kakacek, and Ziad Asrar. So we get one more writer on here. This is the only song that has another writer. Interestingly enough, they needed another writer for only 8 lines of lyrics, and 4 of them are I'll Be Gone. This is such a simple song lyrically and like vocally. I don't know about like vocal performance necessarily, but and the music in this song is huge, and it creates such a world that makes it feel bigger than it actually is. And I wrote down specifically that I think the post-chorus guitar melody is a particular standout on this song. This one is also a 3.5. I think they perfectly capture the vibe that they're going for, and it's just nice, feel-good music.
I'm very intrigued as to what your favorite song is now.
Yeah. Did you think it was going to be this one because you don't like it?
No, I thought it might be this one based off of your notes, to be honest. But that being said, I do agree with you. I think that in some ways, kind of that bigger sound does make this stand out maybe a little bit more compared to some of the previous songs. It, again, didn't fully grab me, I feel like, which would have made it a 4. But I feel like there's still maybe something a little bit more in this song than some of the previous songs, which is making me rethink the decision to say that the first song is my favorite. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Okay.
Because
I thought this one could also be one of your favorites.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I will say, looking at my notes for the next song, not to spoil it, but maybe that one could also be somewhere up there. We'll see. In any case, this was a 3.5 again. It's continuing a trend of songs that are, really enjoyable that I like, even if they don't fully grab me, which I thought was really interesting to have this many songs in a row kind of be like that.
It is interesting, and I figured that this is kind of the response you'd have to the album, because to me, we've done a few indie albums on here, and indie seems to be the genre that really starts to blend together because they usually only use the same few instruments. And a lot of indie music is more kind of in the same tempo. Each band is going to do that. They have their method. Yeah, and I kind of thought that that would happen with this album, but I did think that you would like it overall because I think it's so well produced and like it's so musically interesting that I thought that you would gravitate towards that as well.
And that is the case.
Good.
Not to spoil the rest, but that is the case. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you point that out because I feel like with Whitney and other indie bands, if I listen to the songs more than once, like if I listen to it a lot, that's when I would start to differentiate them more. And that honestly makes me think of the Beatles with their earlier albums because a lot of their earlier songs are like very similar, but because I grew up listening to them like a lot, I know the differences, you know? So I feel like it's the same case here. And I feel like once that happens and I'm able to, kind of hear the differences more, that will also make me like or maybe dislike some songs more too, compared to like my views on them now.
I think what we need to do, and maybe this is more of a note to myself that I will remember as I'm editing this episode. I think what we need to do for me to get you into indie more is to find more stuff like Valley, where it's very varied throughout the album, and there will be stuff that you like and dislike, and then that'll kind of like help you figure out what it is you like and dislike about indie music.
That's a good point.
Because like stuff like this, it's going to be like this is good or this is bad, and every song is either going to be good or bad, pretty much. Yeah. Which, is, to me, I like that. I like when an album creates a vibe. This is what, 30, 33, 34 minutes long, something like that. It's super short. It's quick in and out. And it's just like...
It is, yeah.
It tells you everything you need in these 10 songs. So, I don't know. I like it, but we'll continue.
We'll see where it goes.
Track number 4, Song for Ty. I don't know who Ty is. I'm sorry. I wrote down 2 things on here. Anything Could Happen. And this is just a nice song with great instrumentation, and that's all I care about. This is also a 3.5. We are incredibly consistent.
I gotta say, our scores are kind of consistent this episode too, because I gave it a 3.5 too. That being said, looking back on my notes, I did note how, I feel like there's maybe a little bit something more in the production that works for me in this particular song. So maybe this would be my favorite song if, maybe I could finally like realize that if I went back and listened to it specifically. So I will say this is definitely a contender for me. But yes, ultimately I did give it a 3.5. And that's crazy that we're actually like 3 songs in a row with the same score. I think that's like a first, probably.
That might be. Yeah. I fear this is where we diverge. Track number 5, Valleys, My Love. This is the second single from the album, and it is the most popular song on the album. And I wrote down, it is one of my favorites. I think this is probably my second favorite song on the album.
Oh.
I love this one, and this one has always stood out to me. I think it's a very September-coded song, which is perfect because this album is coming out in September. This episode is coming out in September.
Yes.
The seasons are starting to change. That's what it feels like to me. I also said, I love a good piano, especially when it gets to play a melody. Big fan of that. And it has an extended outro.
Mm-hmm.
Then I said, this is one of the standouts for sure. And then a quick little housekeeping note. This is the song that I heard that made me choose this album for this week. I heard this one and I was like, this is the vibe. I went through my playlist of indie folk adjacent stuff. And I was like, this fits. This one's a 4 for me.
Wow. That's really awesome. I will say this was not the song I was thinking of for your favorite. So
nice.
I still have a chance.
Do you want to say what you think my favorite is?
Oh, okay. Hell yeah, I will say it. I think that your favorite is Friend of Mine.
Interesting.
I'll
okay.
say it right now. There we go.
I think that means it's your least favorite, but...
Well, I'm basing it off of possibly that.
Okay.
And the fact that... And one other detail. Mainly off that one other detail, which I will tell you when we get there. So.
Ooh, okay. This is exciting.
But for Valley, which ironically, we just talked about the band Valley. But anyways, I can totally see what you're saying with this fall vibes. I feel like you particularly feel that in the beginning of the song, like in the opening song of the song. And I feel like that does set it apart. It is still a 3.5 for me. And I will say that kind of going forward, I did feel like I had less and less to say about the songs.
Yeah.
Because of the Kesha effect, which honestly at this point we could also label as the indie effect. But that being said, I agree that you definitely get a more fall vibe from the song. And for me, that was particularly evident in the opening.
I was just looking at the track list and I figured out why you think Friend of Mine is my favorite, but we'll talk about it when we get there.
Well, actually, I hadn't even thought of that, but that's another point.
Oh, maybe there's more. Okay.
That's another reason.
Track number 6, we get an instrumental song, Rhododendron. I said it's time to get horny.
Oh, yeah.
This is an interlude, and I said, so obviously this is your least favorite song. This one's a 3.5 for me.
Well, I gave this one a 3.5 because this was not my least favorite, actually.
Oh.
And I feel like that's because I feel, to me, this style fits an instrumental very well. I feel like it's something that just meshes well with being an instrumental. And I thought that even though it was an interlude, it still fits the style of the album so well that, I don't feel like I'm particularly listening to an interlude, which is really what kept it at a 3.5 for me.
Nice.
So yeah, I again think really liked the song. I think it's very enjoyable.
Hell yeah. And that is a name that you'd never see for a song, Rhododendron.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Didn't even know how to pronounce it at first.
And they didn't even have to. That's the best part. They never even had to say anything on the song.
That's right.
Track number 7, My Life Alone. I think this one has nice melodies and writing, but I am generally not a fan of key changes and definitely not multiple key changes in a song. I still like it though, and I have it in a playlist. Like I will listen to this again, but it is my least favorite on the album. It is a 3, but overall it's still a good song.
I wrote that because a lot of the songs sound so similar, sometimes I can't tell that the next song has started. And I would just sit there and I would be like, this is a longer song. And then I'd look and be like, oh, wait a second. And this did happen with this song, but that might be because the last song was an interlude. So take that with a grain of salt. Interestingly enough, I wrote down that, I felt the urge to give this a lower score, but I felt like that was because of the Kesha effect. So because of that, I tried to approach it from an outside perspective, and I gave it a 3.5. But now that you also gave it a 3, I wonder if that was just my opinion and not the Kesha effect. So I feel like I need to come back to this song,
I do wonder because I think there's something to be said about that. There is, obviously the Kesha effect, you get locked into the one note, whatever it is, but there is something that will break it. And maybe this is kind of the thing that broke it, is you didn't like this one as much, which I didn't either. So it's still good though, in my opinion. I think you feel the same way too.
Yeah, which I agree, which is why I was like, should I give it a 3? And why I thought I was just being influenced by the Kesha effect and decided to give it a 3.5 still. So yeah, we'll see. I'll go back to it.
Track number 8, Day and Night. I think this is a nice quiet song that makes me want to homestead on the prairie of western Nebraska. This is when I kind of am running out of things to say, so I'm just thinking about what the song makes me feel. This one's a 3.5. I like it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for giving me something to say because I don't have anything to say either. And the thing that I have to say is, why Nebraska specifically? Any reason?
I associate the Great Plains most heavily with Nebraska. I don't know why. I feel like Nebraska's greener for longer as it goes west. Also drove through it on my way back here. Underrated state, honestly. It's kind of flat and boring, but it's not that bad. I don't know. There's some interesting things going on in there.
It's not Oklahoma.
Exactly. It's not Oklahoma. Kansas, another underrated state. I actually kind of like Kansas. I'm going to be real.
Wow.
It's driving through that on my way out to California. It's actually kind of beautiful and they have really nice roads. So, but that was in January as well.
Maybe I got to go.
Yeah. Rolling Hills. If you like Rolling Hills, check out Kansas.
That sounds fun. But yeah, 3.5 for me too.
That brings us to track number 9, Friend of Mine. Yeah, you're right.
I knew it.
Track 9, Theory. Mm-hmm. I assume this is your least favorite then.
My least favorite, which is the second reason. And the third reason is because there is the piano in the song. So those are the 3 reasons.
I was also wondering about that. Yeah. Nice. The best chorus on here. Holy shit. The guitar and piano playing the same melody and interrupting the vocals is beautiful. And it also has an incredible outro. This is great all around. This is a 4.5.
Oh,
this
wow.
might be my favorite song by them as a band.
That's really interesting.
Why do you hate it?
So I literally wrote down a note that said, I honestly don't have, a specific reason. It just didn't like work for me as well as the other songs. I'm sure if I like dug more, I would find something as to why I don't like this film as much or this song as much. But ultimately, it's a 3, so it's not like a big step down either. It's just like it's okay. It just didn't. It didn't catch me. Let's say.
Damn.
It didn't grab me.
Yeah, I assume this is going to happen every time. It still hurts a little bit though.
I'm still like, whenever I give a movie a 5, you're gonna give it a 2.5. So we gotta break both of that.
That's true.
We'll see.
We'll see if that happens this week too. Anyone who's listening to this podcast, please leave a comment or write us an email if this is your favorite song. If it isn't, don't say anything. But if it is, I just want to see. I've been realizing that I go against the grain a lot without even meaning to. So I have a feeling that if you think this is the worst song on the album, then other people will too.
That's an interesting theory.
I was on Rate Your Music yesterday looking at an album that I remember loving. I gave 5 stars to. It's so good. Looked at it. It has, I think, a 2.2. And one of the comments was, if you like this, you should kill yourself. And I thought, wow, that's beautiful.
That's crazy.
So anyway, we will cover that album probably next season because I love it.
Yes, I want to hear that album now. I really do.
This is even an album that we had planned on doing the first season. Then I was like, no, we got to save it for a little bit longer because we can't do so many albums that I give a 5 out of 5 for. So,
which is totally not what I did with the films, considering that I've done like 25-star films so far. But anyways,
I have a feeling though that you have more 5-star films than I have 5-star albums.
Yeah, which I could see.
Anyway, we got one last track on here. It's the title track, Forever Turned Around. I think this song has a yacht rock vibe to it. Let me know if I'm crazy in the comments or in our email. I think this is a beautiful end to the album, and it feels like sailing off into the horizon on a chilly night. Listening to this album at the end of summer was actually genius. Way to go, me. I kind of forgot it came out August 30th, but this is like one of the perfect end of summer albums, in my opinion. For my last note, music like this is why Chicago is one of the greatest cities in the world. This is a 4. Great way to end the album.
Looking back at my notes, this could also be a contender for my favorite song. I feel like now I have like 3 contenders.
I think you're at 4 right now.
4, all right. So it's like I said, it's like almost half the album are contenders for top song. But yeah, in some ways I feel like maybe it is because it feels a tiny bit different. It feels like a little bit slower. You know, it does evoke, end of the summer, we're moving into fall. It's the end of, the days of running around outside with your friends and going to the pool and like all that kind of stuff. And I feel like because of that, it definitely is a contender. It's still 3.5. And this is kind of what I was talking about with my score, where literally 9 out of the 10 songs are 3.5s for me. So like that's how consistent.
Except for the best one.
Yeah, well, except for the worst song, as I said. So, that's what I was talking about when I said
very consistent.
Yeah, very, very consistent. That being said, I do think that this is a great ending to the album too, on top of that.
So I have one big note overall that I would also like to get your thoughts on. I said, is this album one note? Yes. It's like Two Door Cinema Club in that way.
Yes.
Just like Two Door Cinema Club, I love the world that this album created. And I think it's a perfect length. The songs are all super nice and none of them are too long. It doesn't feel like they stay too long. They get in and out. They tell you what they want to tell you. And it's so beautifully constructed and well played. The instrumentation is gorgeous on here. Like this is just like super high quality indie music. And I love this album. What did you think overall? And do you agree with I think you agree with the one note thing. Did that work for you? Did it like take away from it at all?
I agree with it for sure. I feel like the more I listen to this album, the more I will like it. I feel like the one noteness definitely did take something away from me. I don't know. I felt like I wanted at least a little bit more difference in between some of the songs. That being said, I obviously still like it. I think there's a lot to like. I think it's very fun. I like kind of the way it makes you feel and the consistency with which it makes you feel. So it's still like a very solid album for me, and it's a 3.5. I do think that it's on the lower side of that, kind of going towards a 3 because maybe the one noteness did take that away. But on the other hand, I don't feel like it like ruined it for me. I'm still fine with it being like that, and I feel like the more I listen to it, the more I will actually like it with that one noteness, you know? So I don't think it affected the album overall as much as, for instance, like Animal did, you know, with the Kesha effect or something like that. So yeah, it's still a 3.5 for me.
I was also thinking about Black Sabbath in that way.
Exactly.
Nice. But yeah, 3.5 is a good score. For me, this album is a 4.
Which I kind of expected.
Yeah, I think some of the songs, you know, I rated quite a few 3.5, but there is something to be said about creating a world with the music and creating a body of work that it feels like a complete story. And I really like that. And I enjoy this album a lot. This was my introduction to Whitney. I became a fan through the singles leading up to this album. And I think it was a great introduction. Some people say their first album is better. I have not heard that because I do have a tendency to, once I find an artist, listen to everything they make, but only as it comes out and not go back because I'm really bad about going back into catalogs. But that's a story for another time.
I was going to say shout out Chicago. That's another reason why your score is a 4.
Big shout out. All to do with the city of Chicago. We got to go there sometime. You got to visit.
I want to visit.
I fear that you will fall in love and want to move there. I mean, I actually don't fear that because that's what I want. But for your own career, I fear that you will want to move there.
Yeah, because I've already fallen in love with Boston and I can't really move there because of my career. So it might go to 2. Mm-hmm. Even though there's actually like more like places on that list than just Boston right now. But yeah, so we'll see.
This album was a success, I think. I think it also fits into the world of the movie, which, as you talked about, is kind of like a non-traditional Western, and we get a non-traditional album with it.
So with that, let's get into Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. As usual, I am going to start with the IMDb logline. You got to tell me what you think. So here goes. In 1890s Wyoming, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid lead a band of outlaws. When a train robbery goes wrong, they find themselves on the run with a posse hard on their heels.
That feels good. Yeah, I like that.
But with that, let's get into the credits. The film is directed by George Roy Hill, produced by John Foreman, written by William Goldman, cinematography by Conrad Hall, edited by John C. Howard and Richard C. Mayer. Music by Burt Bacharach. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Apologies if it's not. Distributed by 20th Century Fox and starring, of course, Paul Newman, Robert Redford, and Catherine Ross. And Catherine Ross might be our first returning actor.
Yeah, I think she's one of the few. I know we had Dustin Hoffman technically twice.
Oh, that's true.
Graduate in Megalopolis.
That is very true. I forgot about that, to be honest.
She is definitely one of the few
yes,
that we've done.
And of course, Robert Redford is coming back too, but now as an actor, not a director.
True. Very true.
Now, before we do get into the notes, the brief notes I got, I did want to recommend to the audience William Goldman's book called Adventures in the Screen Trade. If you haven't read it, it's a very fun book where he talks about both writing and like his adventures in the film world, and he talks about this film.
One of my favorite film books I've ever read.
It's so good. I love it. I literally have a copy on my bookshelf like a couple of feet away from me. It's really, really, really good. And he talks about this film. So if you want to find out more, definitely go to that. But pretty much the story of this film starts with him, with William Goldman. He was, of course, by this point, a screenwriter, an author. He was known for his work already. And he discovered the real-life historical figure of Butch Cassidy and his gang. And he became enamored. And not even in a, I got to adapt them into something. He just became very interested in them and their history. So he began to research the gang, at least several years before he finally decided that it would make a great story for a screenplay. And I think overall he did like 8 years of research, which is...
See, this is why he's the best.
Yeah, right? Because he just like puts everything into it. It was still not an easy script to write, though, in spite of all the research, because, the story, as most real life stories, didn't have like a real backbone to it. It didn't have one thread to follow. It was also a story with minimal action, which is not typical for Westerns at all and would mean that like nobody would want to buy it really. And the biggest problem was that in real life history, the moment that Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid heard about the posse, they ran away to South America. So they were never even chased in real life. They literally just ran the moment they heard about it. And that was a big issue because a Western protagonist would never do that. And an executive actually told Goldman pretty much, quote, "John Wayne, don't run away." He had pretty much all of these issues to deal with, which, hey, I mean, I think we both know where we stand with John Wayne. But anyways, maybe he should have run away.
Yeah.
But eventually he was able to solve these problems. He kind of found the friendship between Butch and Sundance as the backbone to the film, and that helped to solve a lot of the other problems. He still had a lot of trouble getting like all the moments from real life into the film. For instance, there was one actual story from Butch's real history that he kept on trying to like get into the film because he loved it so much, but he couldn't get it in. And that was one where Butch talked the governor of Wyoming into releasing him from jail. He tried to figure out a way to include it in the film, but he just could not.
Damn, that sounds fun.
Yeah, right? You can tell why he wanted it in so much, but it just didn't work. And when it comes to the issue of them running away, he has actually said that he didn't change more than a few pages, and it actually resulted in people wanting it. So he fixed the issue in a couple of pages. Now, I couldn't find anything where he specifically said how he changed it. I also didn't have time to reread Adventures in the Screen Trade.
It's a thick book.
Yeah, it's a quite a thick book. I did not have time in like the 3 days that I was doing research. But pretty much I believe, at least the impression that I always got from it was that he pretty much made them not want to run away and kind of have to be forced into running away when they realized that, oh, if we don't run, we will literally be running for the rest of our lives, like here in Wyoming, or we will die. So I think that's kind of how he fixed that issue. The other thing that I did want to mention is that there was an actual real-life E.H. Harriman who did own a railroad company. So there we go. So after the film was set up at Fox, George Roy Hill came on board and casting began. And Brandon, what have we learned about casting?
It's a nightmare.
It's always a shit show, right?
Yeah.
Because at first, Paul Newman came on board along with Steve McQueen, who, if you don't know, he was one of the biggest stars of the 60s. We will definitely watch some films with him. But he left over disagreements with the studio and the creative team. And because of that, they started to look for a new Sundance. And Hill wanted Redford to join the team. The thing is, Redford was not known at this time. I think he had been in some films that were bigger, but they weren't, giant successes to the point where he would be really known. And so because of that, Hill literally went to Newman, who was a big star by this point, and said, hey, can you use your influence to cast this guy? And he did. But it's a good thing he did because both of them had a lot of fun on set. Newman has stated that this film was literally the most fun he ever had making a film. And he mentioned that he and Redford drank a lot of beer when they were filming in Mexico. Guys being guys, what can I say? Some of the other locations they filmed at were Zion National Park, Snow Canyon National Park, and the city of St. George, along with, as I said before, Mexico, which stood in for Bolivia.
I was wondering where they shot Bolivia. That makes sense. Yeah. And shout out Utah, of course.
Yes. Shout out to Utah. I did want to also mention that I rewatched this film with Jennifer, and I asked her, how is the Spanish in this film? And she was like, oh, it's good. You can tell they hired actual like Spanish speaking people. So kudos to them.
That's kind of what I figured, because I was like, this sounds real to me. Like, I don't speak Spanish. I know very little, but like...
Yeah, and I feel like that was something that was not really done in the 60s. I mean, even nowadays, you will hear really bad Spanish in movies and TV.
Oh my God, yeah, you will.
So kudos to them. I did also want to mention that Newman and Redford drinking a bunch of beer was probably also a good idea, because literally everyone else got something called Montezuma's Revenge, which is pretty much just diarrhea all day long. And I think that the reason they didn't get it was partially because of the fact that they'd never drank water and only drank beer and soda. And Catherine Ross also joined them doing this. Yes. Oh, yeah. And as I said before, Newman's, push to get Redford paid off in the sense that they also became very good friends, to the point that when Redford started to push to do his own stunts, Newman actually became visibly upset, and he said, quote, "I don't want any heroics around here. I don't want to lose a co-star," end quote. Which I think shows just the fact that they did really care about each other.
And also that they don't care about the stunt people.
Yes, exactly. They're like, they can get rolled over and stuff.
That's their job.
The ironic part is that Newman would then go and perform all the stunts in the bicycle scene. That's
nice.
all him, except for crashing into the gate. So it's ironic that, he was so against Redford doing all the stunts. Now, not everyone did have as much fun on set because poor Catherine Ross. Now, I'm not saying that the whole shoot was bad for her, but there was one specific incident. Now, at this point in time, she was married to Conrad L. Hall, who, as I said before, was a cinematographer, and he actually invited her to operate one of the second unit cameras. And when George Roy Hill found out, he scolded her and literally banned her from being on set if she was not shooting a scene. And Ross would later actually say, quote, "Any day away from George Roy Hill was a good one," end quote. So it seems like she might not have had a good time on the set. That being said, she did ironically meet her future and present husband, Sam Neill, who was an extra on this film. Who, I don't know if you know Sam Neill, but he's the guy with the big stash.
Is that Sam Neill? Is that his name?
Yes.
I thought it was Sam Elliott.
Oh, sorry. It is Sam Elliott. I mixed them up. And I literally had Sam Elliott in my notes.
We're having a Happy Gilmore incident.
Yes.
Or Happy Madison incident, I think is what I called it.
Ain't that great?
That's staying in.
Ironically, a name I always forget and always want to say Sam Elliott, but this time I switched it.
Nice.
Now, my last note that I did want to present is about the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
Classic.
Which is sung by B.J. Thomas, yes. And was written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Now, for anyone that knows Westerns, when you see this sequence, it is kind of jarring because that does not feel like a Western song at all. Even someone that doesn't know Westerns, Jennifer was watching this and she hasn't seen very many Westerns and she was like, what?
It's too fun.
It doesn't fit with what is classically seen as the tone of a Western. And Robert Redford actually disapproved of the song when he first saw the film because he was like, what is this? He has actually said, quote, "When the film was released, I was highly critical. How did the song fit with the film? There was no rain." At the time, it seemed like a dumb idea. How wrong I was, as it turned out to be a giant hit, end quote, which it did. And I personally think that it does fit very well.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of a fun, interlude, I guess, in the film.
Right? It offers something. And I think it kind of reminds you that, that time period wasn't all guys with guns walking around. People also had, more normal lives, even bank robbers. But now, to wrap up my notes, let's talk about the release. The movie came out September 24th, so very close to the date this episode's going to come out, 1969. And it first opened in New York. For those of you who don't know, before Jaws began the blockbuster era where every movie comes out everywhere across the United States, movies used to first be released in a few big cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and then they would be rolled out little by little throughout the country. So if you knew someone in New York, they could watch this movie half a year before you could go watch it because you had to wait half a year if you were in a small town, for instance. But anyway, on a budget of $6 million, which is teeny tiny for a Western, even back in the 60s, this film made $102 million. So it was a big success.
That passes the rule of success.
Exactly, the 2.5 rule. Now, do you think that it was critically acclaimed, Brandon, when it came out?
I'm pretty sure I saw that it was not.
Yes, it got very lukewarm reviews. And a lot of reviews were actually kind of mixed to terrible. Vincent Canby, who was a very influential film critic, said that it was, quote, very funny in a strictly contemporary way, end quote. But, quote, at the heart of the film, there is a gnawing emptiness that can't be satisfied by an awareness that Hill and Goldman knew exactly what they were doing, making a very slick movie, end quote. Yeah, I don't agree with that. Sorry, Canby, but yeah, not at all. Regardless, though, it did receive 7 nominations at the Academy Awards. It got nominations for Best Picture, Best Director, and get ready for some weird nomination names. Best Story and Screenplay based on material not previously published or produced.
Oh,
Yes, Best Cinematography, Best Original Score for a Motion Picture, not a musical,
nice.
Best Song, Original for the Picture, and Best Sound. And it would win Best Screenplay, Cinematography, Original Score, and Best Song. So 4 out of 7, which is pretty damn good.
Is it common for movies that were not like well received critically to be nominated at the Oscars back then?
I mean, even nowadays, I feel like you still see some films that did receive the best reviews, but maybe had actors or, people behind it that were respected get nominations and awards. For instance, and I'm not comparing this movie to Butch Cassidy because I don't think it's a good movie. Based off what I've heard, it is a movie that genuinely should not have won anything. But for instance, Green Book, won Best Picture.
I was thinking you were going to say Amelia Perez, but that's another shout out.
That also got nominated.
Yeah.
So it does definitely happen. Of course, I think in this case, this is a film that won awards and then retroactively has become viewed as, one of the best films of the 60s.
Yeah, I feel like The Green Book was like pretty okay, like well received at the time it came out. And now looking back, it's like, oh, that's not good.
Yes. And I feel like a part of that is because it did win. I feel like if it didn't win, people would be like, okay, yeah, it's fine. It's like a very surface level movie that doesn't handle like its racial themes that well. But the fact that it won Best Picture is what made people really hate it.
I remember seeing a bunch of white guys get up on stage and thinking, and everybody kind of being like,
exactly.
Oh, that's not good.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid did get critically reevaluated, and it's now seen as an all-time classic. And in many ways, it helped to kind of modernize the Western genre away from the 40s, 50s, tough guy protagonist, et cetera, et cetera. It was kind of this along with the spaghetti westerns, which were very big in the 60s and 70s, which is ironic considering that this film is a very atypical western at the same time. I wanted to end my notes on this film before I got to my questions for you with a quote from Goldman, or sorry, not a quote, but something that he wrote once. Quote, "Fact. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is, no question, the most popular thing I've ever been connected with. When I die, if the Times gives me an obit, it's going to be because of Butch." End quote. The first sentence of William Goldman's obituary in the New York Times on November 16th, 2018 was as follows. William Goldman, who won Academy Awards for his screenplays for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and All the President's Men, and who, despite being one of Hollywood's most successful screenwriters, was an outspoken critic of the movie industry, died on Friday in Manhattan. He was right.
I was curious if they were going to say in the obituary, this is what he wanted us to say or not, but they didn't.
That would also be very funny. But yeah, I mean, he got it like right on the nail.
Nice.
I think that's a great place to end my notes on. And now I do have some questions for you. And I got to start with, had you seen this film before? And if so, was it what you expected when you heard that this is a Western film?
I have seen this before, and I saw it because I read William Goldman's book and he talked about it. And I was like, I should probably watch this movie. And I watched it and I thought, this is really good. I can't really think back to if it was what I expected, but I kind of knew a lot about it before going in. So I kind of didn't it had already kind of broken my expectations learning about it, I guess.
Yes, if you do read the book, he tells you so much about it and tells you about why it is the way it is in terms of why it's written the way it is, that, it definitely means you do have kind of an insider look at it.
Plus, I'm also not super familiar with Westerns in general. So I don't know a typical Western, I guess, all the time.
Which, I mean, did make me wonder if you would like Westerns because based off this film's yes, but at the same time, it's not a very typical Western. So it is probably hard to gauge if you would like Westerns or not based off of this film versus one that's more, classically a Western.
And I think it's also hard because it's William Goldman. And I mean, I'll spoil it right now. I think he's one of the best screenwriters ever. He has this ability to create characters that are so real and so you can tell that he loves creating his characters and embodying them. And maybe that like also helps that the actors are really good, or it could come from the page where it's like he has given the actors so much. I don't know. The William Goldman movies I've watched, I've all been extremely impressed by them. So,
which actually brings me to my next question, which is which William Goldman's movies have you watched? I'm assuming Princess Bride.
Yep. And I've also seen All the President's Men, but I don't remember it at all.
So that's ironic because those are the other two films that I have seen that he wrote. And I do love both of those films too, especially All the President's Men, which is like, it seems like a movie that should be boring, but isn't. And I think that that's in large part because of his script. And going back to like the script of this film, I think something that's actually not that typical for a lot of classical Westerns is humor. And I love how much humor there is in the film. And that's definitely something you can see in all of his films, where like no matter the genre, they're all very funny, but in a very like realistic way that just works with the world of the film.
It's humor that ages so well too,
Yes.
because it's still funny to this day. And I remember
Absolutely.
reading this book as a high schooler and like how much it has shaped who I am as a writer and a person. And I remember like his thoughts on comedy and how he was saying like, I don't think I'm a funny person and I don't think what I write is funny, but some people do. So you just have to be able to like find that. And I remember thinking as a whatever 15 or 16-year-old, like, wow, I'm not that funny. I hope I can make it as a comedy writer. Like, and I was like, oh, if he did it, I can, which, you know, long story there. But I remember like reading about how he writes comedy and just thinking that like there is something so special to it because he says it's also like he doesn't approach it as comedy. Like it's not like I'm going to write a joke now. It just like reveals itself as you're writing the script, which I think is, I mean, that's how I approach it.
The best way.
Yeah, because it has to be there.
Well, I completely agree. That's why I recommended his book, because like this film, it's also very humorous, but also very insightful. And I feel like you do get so much out of it, especially if you want to be a writer. And that book is one of the two books that I go back to as a writer that are about writing. It's that and On Writing by Stephen King. Those two, I think, are the two best books that have ever been written about writing. And it's ironic that neither of them are directly about screenwriting in terms of like teaching you the craft.
Which I think is kind of the correct way to teach it. It's not so much like you can learn formatting and stuff like that. It's relatively easy once you get it. But like how to think about stories is much more important to learn. And I think that's what he teaches. I can't speak for the Stephen King book, and I probably won't read it because he's on the Epstein list, like almost certainly. So,
oh, God. I will let you borrow my copy so that you don't send him any money.
Yeah.
Now, I did have to ask you another question, and I would be remiss if I did not ask you about what you thought about Redford and Newman and their relationship on the screen.
Their relationship is probably one of the best, like, buddy friendship kind of like duos in movies that I've ever seen. It is so well written. They have so much chemistry together. You can tell, like, outside of being characters and actors, that they're like friends with each other. And it elevates it so much. Like it's a perfect casting, and I think also perfect writing.
I completely agree. I remember always thinking to myself that they were best friends in real life, like long before I did my notes and found out that they were in fact best friends. Like that's how good their chemistry is. And it's so good because it's just the truth. It's not even like chemistry. It's just what it is for them. And I honestly think that, like, obviously the script is fantastic, and any two actors, any two good actors would have made the film very good. I think they take it to the next level with their relationship and like just them being who they are, because they are both very charismatic, especially Paul Newman. He's probably one of the most charismatic people that was ever born and that was ever put on screen, to be honest. And I'm excited for you to see more films with him.
He has the it factor. I mean, I've never seen John Wayne in anything, but that's what I imagine John Wayne is like. Like, you're just drawn to him. He's just so like...
He has an aura.
Yes, he has aura, as the kids say. As the youths say.
As the youth say. He got Riz.
Yes. He has Riz.
He got Riz.
I also don't want that to take away from Robert Redford, who I think,
Yes.
for me personally, is the standout. I think his performance is incredible in this. He's understated, but he plays it so well. Where Paul Newman's character has the outward confidence, the Sundance Kid has that like calm, cool confidence, which I really like, because I feel like that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to his level where it's just like,
Yeah.
nothing bothers me.
I think both of us are like, we can never get Paul Newman's confidence. So
Yeah.
we have to emulate Redford's version of, just calm demeanor.
First step is buying a gun and practicing being fast with it.
Yes. And being good at cheating at cards.
Yeah.
Well, it was also very interesting to me, like rewatching this after seeing Ordinary People, where you're kind of seeing him in his directorial shoes. Did that like change anything for you, like watching this, or was it just like so like, different seeing him on screen versus directing?
I didn't think about him directing too much because I often I don't know. I feel like I don't have object permanence with people that I've never met.
Yeah.
So that's harder.
He ain't dead yet.
But I think that there is almost there's a feeling between the two films that I can't really describe. And I think it has to do with the writing. And maybe that's because Robert Redford, like as an actor, knows how to act and knows how to interpret writing in a way that's like friendly towards actors. And then he did that with Ordinary People, which he did so well. And
which is a film that rests on its acting, kind of,
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he has the it factor as well when it comes to making movies,
Yeah.
He started the Sundance film festival, which is probably one of the greatest contributions to American cinema culture.
One of the biggest, yeah.
He obviously loves movies.
We are going to watch another one of his films. Well, we're going to watch several, but I've seen 2 of his films, and we are going to watch the next one hopefully soon for sure. And that is also one of my favorite films of all time. And I think that is a film that will kind of make that concrete, that he does love film, and that he is able to kind of use what he learned as an actor and turn that into being a director pretty much.
Do you want to name drop this film and then also tell me if he acted in it or directed it? Because I'm curious.
The film is called The Horse Whisperer, and he acted and directed in it. So he did both.
Oh.
Yes, it's a 90s film.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, and it has a young Scarlett Johansson in it.
Interesting.
15, 16-year-old Scarlett Johansson. So we got to watch it for sure. I absolutely adore that film. It's quite sad, as Ordinary People is too, but
can't say I've ever heard of this.
Yeah, it's actually not very well known. I feel like it kind of slipped under the radar, unfortunately, but I think it's almost up there with Ordinary People, for me at least.
I have a feeling that if it doesn't get the recognition it deserves while he's alive, when he dies,
yeah,
it'll probably be one of those where it's where people revisit his catalog and then they're like, whoa, how did we miss this? And
actually, speaking of directing or directors, I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the directing in this film and the cinematography. And when I was rewatching this, I totally forgot that there were sections of this film that were in sepia, to the point where I thought that my DVD was broken because the opening of the film was so sepia. I was like, what's going on? And then it switched to color, and I was like, oh, that's right. And I just think that this film is shot and directed in such an interesting way, which again kind of feels different to Westerns that I know, which is mostly spaghetti Westerns, which makes sense because spaghetti Westerns are very idiosyncratic. But I think that this film was shot and directed in such an interesting way that you don't typically see Westerns shot. I don't know Westerns well, but to me, it felt like it was shot like a comedy, and it is pretty cool in that way. It feels very... It works so well. It also feels like the world is so large. And I feel like that's something I get a lot of the time in comedy that I don't get so much in. And maybe that's a common Western thing. I feel like I don't get it as much in dramas, that it feels very closed in. But this felt huge. And I mean, maybe part of that is the beautiful scenery that they're shooting in, And I mean, I will say the expansive parts definitely do feel very Western-y. But what I like is that for instance, in the chase scene, when they look out and they're like, oh shit, the posse's right there, you can barely see them as an audience. And I feel like most Westerns would not have done that. They would have like cut to, oh, the posse's riding after them,
Yeah,
a very
that's
like
true.
quick cuts. But here I love how they held on it because it does just make it feel like a very expansive world, and B, you can see how they slowly get closer, and I feel like that makes it more thrilling rather than just cutting back and forth.
It also feels like we're more tied to Butch and Sundance. Like as an audience, we're rooting for them, even though like they're, not great people. Although they have so much like humanity. They have so much humanity shared between them, and they obviously care a lot about each other. And the girl, which I cannot remember her name.
Edda.
Yes, Edda. Thank you. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, Edda.
I don't know. They have Riz. I don't know.
They got Riz, yeah, exactly. I mean, Riz goes far, as the kids nowadays say. I don't know if they actually say that, but
I don't think they've ever said that. But yeah, that
well,
sounds
this
good to
kid
me.
said it. This kid at heart. Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And I wanted to add one last thing about the cinematography. I cannot say that word, by the way. Like, I just can't.
I've realized.
I just stumble every time I try. But watching this film, and this is something that not just Westerns, but just films in, like, I feel like most of the 20th century shared. Watching it, you can see how shots were actually composed. It isn't just cutting back and forth between like an over the shoulder or a close up. Shots were actually composed so that characters would move in frames and the camera would move and like it would go from one setup to another without cutting. Like all those composition things, I think add so much to this film, and I'm so sad that films don't do it anymore because I think it's so beautiful and it works so well. It's like it almost feels like a lost art form.
It really does, and I think the problem is that so many times when I see that done in the modern times, like you can almost tell like it's choreographed, where this, I did not get that at all. And I almost didn't even realize that that's what was happening because it's just so like perfectly done.
It's so perfect that it becomes invisible. That's the thing. And it's so hard to get right.
And that's what it should be. Yeah,
exactly.
That's what makes it good.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's the sign of a good cinematographer and good director, that they're able to pull it off so well here and make it feel so natural at the same time, so that you don't even notice it. Like, I noticed it for the first time watching this film for this episode, and I've seen this film like 3 or 4 times. And those are really the only questions or points that I had to bring up. Before I ask you what your score is, I got to ask you if you have anything else to add.
I mean, I feel like we've covered a lot. We didn't talk as much about the train robberies and kind of the comedy in that. That's one of my favorite like sequences in the film,
especially with Woodcock.
Yes, for sure. And then I also love when they get to Bolivia with Etta, and she's just kind of like, yeah, see guys, I told you so. Like her as a character and kind of as almost a foil to them. It's really fun, and she works so well with them. Like the 3 of them have really great chemistry as well. And I think having that third person in like kind of a buddy situation, like it really elevates it a lot. So I liked that as well, which I wanted to mention.
To your point about Etta, it's really interesting how, there are so many moments in this film where, Sundance might say something harsh to her, or Butch might say something harsh to her. And a lot of films in the 70s where, a male character would act like that towards a female character would then have the female character just like listen and be demure. But here she answers back, and often like she won't like get mad back or something like that, but she will answer honestly and be like, like for instance, the scene where she's like, I will cook for you, I will go with you, I won't complain, but I'm not going to watch you die. Like, I love that as an example of, showing that, yeah, maybe like things weren't perfect for her in her life with them, but she like wouldn't take shit either from them, and she would like get what she wanted from them, which I don't feel like you see a lot with female characters back then, especially ones written by male characters, by male writers and directed by male directors.
Yeah, and she obviously didn't have that good of a time shooting the film, sadly, but
yes,
that
is very unfortunate. Yeah,
I don't know, I'll say it again. William Goldman, probably one of the best writers ever. I know his
Absolutely.
like protege then was Aaron Sorkin.
Who, I mean, everyone knows now.
Right, and is kind of thought of as one of the best writers ever as well. So, maybe there's something to William Goldman's style of writing that everyone should kind of try to copy a little bit. I think he's got it figured out.
Please, guys.
Yeah. So I assume that you rated this a 5. Did you?
So this is a 4.5 for me,
Ooh.
but it will probably go up to a 5. It's weird. I feel like with this film, I have loved it every single time I've watched it, but for some reason, whenever I would go to rate it, I wouldn't be like, oh, this is a 5. That being said, I don't know why I never thought of it as a 5, because it's kind of perfect, like this should be a 5. So I actually have to go and change that, because I think that this should be a 5, because it is kind of a perfect film.
Interestingly, I have a similar reaction to you because I wrote down after I watched this film, this is a 3.5. And I was like, and I wrote it down just earlier today to when I was preparing to record. And as we're talking about it, and kind of when I got on the call, I was like, this is actually a 4. Like, I do like this more than just a 3.5. Like, it's really fun. And I feel like when you're watching it, it's almost like, yeah, that's kind of a classic Western. But then you think back on it, it's like, no, this is so good. Like, this is a really good movie.
This is so much more. Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be a 4 for me.
Hey, it's the, we gotta say it's the Butch effect.
Honestly, I like that.
Yeah.
The Butch effect.
Yeah, me too. Which kind of sounds like we're talking about something else, but
Correct. Yes.
that's beside the point.
Sometimes my fashion leads a little bit more towards the Butch effect.
My fashion doesn't lead anywhere because I wear the same shirt every single day.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Hey, we had a pretty good week, I would say, with our movies and our music.
And I like this pairing a lot, and I'm glad it worked
too.
out. And I'm glad you liked the music because I feel like, well, indie is kind of hard to get into sometimes, and it's kind of samey. I'm glad you're at least open-minded, and
I'm on board for more.
yes, I think there's room for improvement, and I hope you return to this, which I guess was kind of the question I forgot to ask you earlier. Are you going to listen to any of these songs again?
I want to return. Returning is less of a, I want to listen to this on repeat or something or add it to the soundtrack, but it's more of a, I want to go and listen to this more to see how things change and how my perceptions change. So I do want to revisit it for sure and see what happens.
I forgot to write down that question at the end like I usually do. It just slipped my mind, sadly. But we still got to talk about it.
Well, it slipped back in. So.
Yes, it slipped back. I don't want to repeat
There
that.
we go.
Anyway, that's where we end this week. And I recommend everybody watch this movie, listen to this album, because we both liked him. I think you will probably also find some enjoyment if you didn't already watch and listen, because you would have heard about this on our Instagram,
where we announce it a week prior. That's a whole week, guys. You guys aren't that busy, right?
That week is for you to watch and or listen. And I hope that you do, because it's a lot of fun. And I think we're in a pretty good rhythm now. We're watching and listening to some good stuff.
We're getting better and better at this.
It'll be ruined one of these days, but...
Next Katy Perry album, maybe.
Right, yeah. I was thinking about that. I thought about
Yeah.
adding Witness to our list next year, and I thought we can't do both bad Katy Perry albums. We have to do one of the good ones.
We got to stretch it out, yeah.
So, maybe.
But speaking of Instagram, Brandon, where else can they find us?
Great question. All of that stuff is on our link tree, and it will be linked in the show notes. You can also find that on our Instagram bio at unculturedpopculture. We're on TikTok. We make videos. You can email us at upcpod@gmail.com. You can see what we watch and listen to on Letterboxd and Rate Your Music. All that's in our link tree as well. And is that everything? Did I do it?
That's pretty much everything, aside from please rate this show on Spotify, give us a review on Apple Music, and tell your friends, because, hey, everyone should be addicted to this podcast.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
You kind of tricked me into doing the whole outro there, because I know you don't want to say LinkedIn again.
Oh God.
But don't worry, next episode, you know what's coming up.
No, I hate it. I'm ready. Bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
I think that's where we leave it.
I think that is. See you guys next week.